Hello, welcome to Shadow Work, your next chapter in your mentorship. I am so grateful for you to be here today and willing to take these next steps into your inner work. Shadow work is reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we perceive as bad. We are going to examine the parts of ourselves we've been triggered to hide and uncover the parts of ourselves that we've been unconsciously disowning, rejecting, or repressing. Now it's time to take off those masks and reclaim your body, your truest essence, your joy, passions, identity, and really tap into your beliefs, your innocence, and your heart so much more. If you are just joining us on this call or you're just joining in on this workshop, welcome. You are going to find so much information here. So let's get started. So, what is shadow work? Shadow work, like I said, is diving into those programmed aspects of ourselves, those shadows, those unconscious areas which we may not have tapped into yet. We may be aware that there may be a trigger or that we might be repeating a cycle over and over again, but we haven't really sat with it or dove into it. So, we're going to start at the very beginning with a little bit of introduction to shadow work. We may have already been doing some of this work, so bear with me if some of this is repetitive. I promise you, every time you hear this information, something else unlocks in your conscious and subconscious. So, stick with me here. We got this. So I want you to say with me right now, I am whole. Say it out loud, write it down, integrate it into the body. I am whole. It might feel weird, right? Because with society, we're taught that we must find those things that make us whole. Think about a marriage. How many times have you heard a marriage is 50-50, or I'm going to find my better half, or this is my better half? You are conditioned to believe that half of you resides in something or someone else. And that's just not true. You are 100% whole as you are. And because of what you've gone through in life, you might have been lost a little bit on your way. You might have disowned parts of yourself that you might not have felt are acceptable, or others may have told you are not acceptable in society or in your relationship. Think about in school, how many times did you witness the child that stood up and was very flamboyant and passionate about life be told to sit down and be quiet, or be sent to the office, or sit with their desk in the hall? You know, those kids, in my experience witnessing and working in the school, those are the ones that go on to be in theater or are leaders. And so I find it really interesting to find and unravel our own shadows, because we are able to learn not just about ourselves, but those around us as well. And that just makes us a much more intuitive and aware human being. So, like many of us in today's society, especially as women, we've been taught to seek our wholeness externally, that we require something else in order to make us complete, worthwhile, or accomplished. This is known as conditioning. And I am very sad to report that this has been happening since the moment you were born. Now, I can go into that a little bit deeper, but I feel like that's another workshop or another chapter here. Today, I want you to think of yourself as a young child and you're sitting in your living room watching a movie. Okay, what is that movie? At first, these movies as a child seem very innocent. They seem funny or something you strive to be. But as you grow up, you take a different look, a different viewpoint. As you learn and know more, you see things differently. And for myself, I now look back at all those Disney movies that I watched as a child and begin to see a different story. I look at all of the Disney characters and think, isn't it funny that they kill off the parental figures? So those children or animals, think of Bambi, think of Cinderella, they have all lost a parental figure. So they have no one to rely on. They are vulnerable and alone, and they must seek out someone to take care of them and someone to give them validation. Now, I think it's really interesting that they do this there, and I could go on and on about it, but we're going to leave it there for a moment. As you move further and further into these movies, think of Ariel. She's longing to find her prince on land. Think of Cinderella. Now, Cinderella, I have two takes on. One, she had no business wanting a prince. She did not go to that ball to find a man to save her. That man chased her. And however, there's also that aspect of Cinderella where, that man saved her. And that's the version that I grew up knowing in my mind was that Cinderella, this fairy godmother, came in and saved her. And then she went to the ball, and this man fell in love with her and saved her, and she lived happily ever after. That's not reality. And I think we all know that. But it's really interesting to see how that plays a role in who we are and who we grew up to be, and the relationships with ourselves and with others we then go forth into. Now, every character is seeking something external to fulfill them. I want you to take a moment and sit with that. What are you right now externally seeking to fulfill you? Is it money? Is it that love of a parent or a spouse or a partner that you just never got? Sit with that and write it down for a moment. I'll wait. So we figured out what it is that we're longing for. Just set that to the side for a moment. We're going to keep going, but we're going to come back to that. When you were a very young child and you're sitting in those rooms watching the movies, you might have felt that warmth wash over you. You might have learned that that's how things are. That's how it should be, right? You have been programmed and conditioned to believe that you need something external to fulfill you, that you're not enough as you are, whether that is very obvious or whether that's very subtle. So how does that compare to us now as adults? While we might not be seeking our fairy godmother to provide us something, we may instead actively seek out things in our area, actively seek out things in our lives, areas in which we feel a lack of. We feel less than, right? We seek fulfillment, and we seek that filling of those cups through things like degrees, jobs. We might volunteer to feel important or to be seen, because in high school or public school, we were shoved to the side and we were not seen. We weren't listened to. We might take those roles of importance in our communities in order to fulfill those areas where we may have been overseen. You know, wholeness may be sought after by devoting yourself to a spiritual path, right? You might seek it through someone's acceptance or love towards you. Think about a parental figure that never gave you the love you need for a long, long time. Think of a child who never got the love of their father. Their father wasn't present. They're going to go on and on seeking that love and validation from other partners in their life. Now, until they sit with that and begin to heal that wound, only then will that change. But that pattern, that condition will continue to play over and over again in their lives. Our lives are continuously changing. We are continuously changing. And until we finally sit with our shadows and those aspects of ourselves that we've disowned, only then can we change. We're only seeking and going to receive temporary fulfillment when we're seeking those things that we need validation for, that we have not yet healed. It's only temporary until you do the inner work. Okay, so I'm going to be very blunt for a moment, and it might ruffle some feathers. And for that, I apologize. Not really. But what I mean by that is I'm going to be blunt. I'm not going to coddle. And for that, I'm not sorry. I am sorry if it disrupts you a little bit, but I hope with that you're able to sit with it and uncover and be curious. Why did that ruffle my feathers so much? And reach out to me. I don't mind talking about it and being compassionate, but a little bit stern in the discovery of that. So let's see. This is what I wanted to say. Each and every single time you seek external validation, you as a person are giving away your power to something or someone else. Okay. So every time you give away your external validation by seeking external validation, you are giving away your power to something else. When you seek, you surrender your power. Okay. Now, my question is the price of giving away your power worth the temporary fulfillment? Is the price of giving away your power worth the temporary fulfillment? I can say it's not, because you are so much worthy. You're so much more worthy of being in your power. When we continually give away our power to others, our internal being suffers. Our truest and highest self weeps. We should never be giving away our power to another. You are so much more worthy than that. When you give away your power, you begin to feel misaligned in your body and in your mind. It can show up physically as stomach aches, ulcers. For some women who are intimate with a partner that they are not aligned with, they might continuously get UTIs or yeast infections. You might be finding you get sore throats or bronchitis because your body is transmuting those misalignments physiologically. It can show up as headaches or digestive issues, right? Our chakra system, when it is not in alignment, when we are a bit blocked, we are going to begin to have those main line symptoms show up along the stomach, the heart, the throat, the head. Okay, these are our chakras. This is where our chakra system aligns. Our body always keeps score of every single thing we see, we think, we witness, we hear, we feel. Our body continuously holds on to every single thing. And when those things that we're seeing, feeling, thinking are not in our highest and best, it's going to mutate into dis-ease or disease. Now, in order to become realigned, we must first ourselves examine the parts of us which we disown, the parts we hide from the world, the parts which we may be ashamed of. So, for that, I want to thank you for trusting me to lead you on this journey inwards.